Introducing first, the challenger from Pyongyang, Korea, weighing in at 200.
Oh, holy cow. They didn't even want to wait for Roseanne's reintroductions there. Brett Wolverton was the
I've never done it move that fast in a while. Again, this is certainly going to be an interesting matchup between the two, as you've got the Korean assassin Kimo, and you've got the Azrael being accompanied by the Rev Dan Wilson. We saw right there, this is going to be an interesting match because they both did the exact same move at the same time with those judo-like chops.
Well, that's the one thing. I mean, everybody knows all about the martial arts expertise of Kimo. But one of the things that recently that we've seen Azrael add more of into his skill is that martial arts. And that's definitely the influence of the Reverend Dan Wilson sending Azrael, his champion, to learn more than just wrestling. Because this is what this is. He's the Anarchy Heavyweight Champion. He's going to face guys like Kimo. Kimo, who has just recently learned wrestling, was more of a fighter. I mean, look at that. You don't learn that in a wrestling ring. That right there, by being a bodyguard to Kim Jong-il, that's what you learn. This man was a trained assassin for the Korean Army. But right there, Azrael able to take him down.
Well, I'll tell you, every time we have an Anarchy title defense, it's always intense, but something tells me that the physicalness of this matchup, the punishment that these two, you can already sense it, and the match hasn't even been a minute or so underway. And they've both been two have to be figuring out how are they going to be able to get the better of the other one. But it's just that intensity. I was going to hear all the way up here to the broadcast booth. I'll tell you something about Reverend Dan Wilson. You touched on the influence that he has with Azrael. And Reverend Dan Wilson is always a dangerous guy. Right there, we see the referee's back's turned and inserting himself not only mentally with Azrael, but also physically into this matchup. But Reverend Dan Wilson is certainly a dangerous figure as we see him on the outside. But the thing that I think makes him even more dangerous, when you have that gold around one of his charges' waist, now the world is going to listen even more, and he has actually something to back it up with.
And right there, Azrael driving that knee in the head of Kimo. Kimo was trying to fight his way back out. Of course, we all remember that it was back in around 2008 that Jeff G. Bailey brought this man, Kimo, to the NWA arena from Korea, brought him to the United States as a member of the NWA Elite. And it was sometime later that the power that Bailey had over this man seemed to diminish. And Kimo became a man of his own. He disappeared for several months and then returned to the NWA arena. And since his return, I mean, we've seen a different Kimo. And I got a question of the killer instinct of Kimo still there. I mean, the abilities are there, you know, and all the skill is there. But what about that killer instinct? I remember when he had Jeff G. Bailey at ringside, this man would always go for the kill. Now, he seems a lot more content of just going for win. And the thing is, like right now, he's allowing Azrael to take a break outside the ring. The old Kimo wouldn't do this.
Well, speaking of which, right there, that might be a little something of the old Kimo going out there to meet us, to cut off Azrael. However, he's got a handful of hair right there from the Reverend Dan Wilson. Azrael kind of looking on. Azrael going for a big clothesline, but was able to duck, so it's Kimo getting the right shots back and forth. Right out here on the rampway. Suplex. That pounding, that thud that you heard was the back of Kimo meeting against the rampway here at the NWA Anarchy Arena. Referee Ken Wallace checking on both men. And wow, right there on the back, you know how hard that rampway is. And Kimo certainly was shaken.
It was that hostile environment that Azrael realized that long-time dream, that long-time goal, that every wrestler has, and that's becoming the best in the sport. And right now, being the Anarchy Heavyweight Champion means he's the best of Anarchy. He's the best this sport has to offer. And Azrael trying to prove that time and time again, and doing it here against Kimo. But Kimo dragging his man, face first, and onto the gut outside here on the arena floor. Now the thing is, Azrael's got to remember, Kimo's got to remember, he can defeat Azrael by count out, but he will not be able to hold on to that Anarchy Heavyweight Championship. He will not become champion. Azrael will lose the match, but still be champion.
Absolutely, and I don't think that's how Kimo wants to win it. He certainly would love to win the match, but he certainly doesn't win it by count out. He wants to win the pin so that way he can actually get the championship. Both men trying to make their way back up to the vertical base here. However, both men trading blows on their knees.
Ken Wallace at 9, excuse me.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, the referee has counted out both men. He rules this match a double countout.
This match ends in a double countout.
Both men still trading blows as if the match hadn't even been ended. However, it has, and neither one seems to either care or realize at this point. Wow, again, another vicious chop.
Azrael and Kimo fighting outside the ring here. You got to remember, it was Azrael that pinned Kimo back in hostile environment to win the championship in that four-way matchup that also involved the former champion Seven and Michael Judas and Dan Wilson down talking to D. Byers.
Well, I'll tell you what, Azrael is going to walk out as the champion, but the damage is going to be inflicted right now at the hands of Kimo. And as champion, your next title defense, you certainly have to be thinking about that in the next matchup. The bell still sounds. We've got all our referees out here that we could find.
And Kimo chasing down some referees to get him away from him. He wants to take out Azrael.
Rev Dan Wilson trying to see if we can get Azrael back into the game here. The match is over, but he certainly wants to be able to stop some of the punishment. Batting right out here by us, trading hands left and right, fists flying in the air. Almost instinctively, Azrael trying to go in the ring, but it isn't going to do much good at this point. The match is over.
The match is over, and our time here on NWA Anarchy is very close to being over.
We're going to try and see if we can stay with this as long as we can here, fans. Kimo again, choke like that vice. Always got some more people coming in the ring here. Skira Corvus trying to make their way out. One half of the Texas Tornadoes as well.
Wait a minute, here comes Anthony Henry. Galano Ramirez.
Looks like chaos is broken out here in the ring. I don't know if these men are going to be able to pull this two apart. The intensity here this week on Anarchy. Several men trying to pull back Azrael as well as Kimo. They're still coming out. We've got Drew Haskins making his way along with Billy Buck, Ty Tyson sliding on in.
They've tried to break this up.
Brody Ray Chase.
Some separation. Wait a minute.
Kimo back at it again. Despite all these men, Kimo making a running leap, trying to see if he can make his way onto Azrael. And look how many guys it's taken to try and separate both of these people, John Johnson.
Azrael breaks through this time.
We have half the locker room out there. They're going to need the National Guard to be able to break this one up. Total chaos here this week on Anarchy. Again,
we have total chaos here. We don't have very much time left. Both men are broke up. This right here, one ring is not going to be able to settle with these guys. One ring cannot contain these guys. You're going to need a whole lot more than that. But nonetheless, still, the Anarchy heavyweight champion, Azrael.
Look at Kimo. Look at Kimo.
From over for Timmy D. For the new guy, Rosie O'Donnell. I'm John the Body Johnson. We'll see you next week.